So what happens when you take the board game Risk and Dune? You get Risk Dune, of course. We're going to be taking a look at this game, and we're going to try and figure out which is it, more Risk or more Dune, here on Legendary Tactics.
We'd like to thank The Op Games for supporting our channel and sponsoring this video and giving us a review copy. Why not check out one of their titles today?
So we're going to take a general overview here. This, as I said, combines Risk and Dune. So how does that, how do those two mix? Now, theme-wise, this is set on Arrakis. If you're familiar with the Dune books or movies, this is obviously based on the movies in terms of the visuals. You can see Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides here.
Now, I don't know a heck of a lot about Dune, but that doesn't necessarily prevent me from playing this, right?
No, not at all. Okay. No. You don't need to know anything about the Dune franchise. Okay. You don't even have to have seen the movies. It just kind of gives it more
flavor.
depth. But if you have seen the movies,
it'll make sense.
It'll make more, it'll make sense and certainly help you with some of the pronunciation of some of the,
exactly.
the soldiers'
I might slaughter that just so you know when we play this game, but correct me as we go.
So, but theme-wise, it's set in that universe, and all the effects from the sandworms here, of course, and
I do recognize that.
That's awesome. And all this stuff. You've got all the kind of the elements that are built into the game to kind of give you that flavor of Dune.
Right.
Now, does it represent what actually happened in the books and movies? Not really, but it's still
it's there, it's present, and the names are there. Very good.
They still are, yeah. So the goal of the game is for the fighters, freedom fighters players, with Paul Atreides needs to get their family atomics and kill Fade Rutha there.
And you got to travel up your track, right?
Yeah, part of that is traveling up the vision track. Right. And then I have the oppressors have the oppression track here. And our goal is to just wipe out all of your guys.
Right,
basically,
just destroy them.
As the freedom fighters there. So it's pretty straightforward. Doesn't necessarily have a heck of a lot to do with Risk.
Per se,
You know, but that leads
attacking each other.
Yeah, you're attacking each other a little bit. But that actually leads into the comparison that we would make if we could of another game that is very similar.
Which I would say is Star Wars Risk, which we have right here.
Yes. And again, nothing to do with Risk per se. But it's a very, very similar game. If you have played Star Wars Risk, which actually I really recommend, it's a great game. But you can see they have the different tracks as well. The two, yes.
On the TIE
so instead
board,
of Luke and Vader fighting, you know, you've got just an oppression track. You've also, instead of trying to blow up the Endor base and you know, the shield for the Death Star, you know, you've got your vision track. So it's different. This battle takes place in space in Star Wars, but I mean, there's a lot in common. If you've played Star Wars Risk, you will be able to learn this game really, really quickly. Okay,
so let's move on to rules, Nato. Can you tell us a little bit, or game mechanics?
Sure. So the rule book is about 15 pages.
All right, that's not bad.
So as far as complexity, I mean, you can see there's lots of pictures, there's lots of, there's some text, but nothing too heavy. As I said, if you've played the Star Wars Risk, you will be able to breeze through that rule book pretty quickly.
Jump right in. Okay.
And the mechanisms, again, nothing like Risk. There is some attacking. You are rolling to get hits and so forth, but you're trying to roll higher than a certain number in order to get a kill, so to speak. Right?
And there's kind of two main objectives in the game, where you're moving up your track, and then of course you're fighting off your opponent.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of the mechanisms that's central to the game is you have a hand of 6 cards, and sometimes they have just one option, you know, move the blue troops, move the Harkonnen troops, or move the Sardaukar troops, or whatever. Right. But you can choose sometimes multiple options.
There'll be triple options, yeah.
But what you do is you choose 3 of those cards, and you flip them over, and then you have to play them in order.
In the order you've programmed.
In the order you programmed.
Okay.
So you may be limited in that you say, oh, I'm going to move my Harkonnen troops, but they get wiped out, and then you got nothing to do. So,
but there are abilities that can kind of monkey around with that happening, right? That mechanic, that programming. So don't get too attached to that. At least if you're the fighters.
Yes, exactly. So, but that's the kind of the main mechanics of the game, and then moving on to the components. opponents.
Yeah. So we got the standees for our two main characters that are kind of battling each other, right? The two main factions. Yep. And then we've got the orange and green. Now these are my freedom fighters.
Fremen. Yep.
The Fremen and the Fedaykin.
Yep.
And I got that. Okay, good. Got that right.
Yeah, as far as I know, anyway.
And they actually come with different power abilities as well.
Yeah, so basically the green guys, the Fedaykin, are your elites. They're harder to kill.
Right.
These guys are more standard troops, and the oppressors have the same kind of idea. They've got the blue troops, the Harkonnen troops that are easier to get rid of, and the Sardaukar are the elite troops that are, they're tougher to kill. So,
and then of course along your trek as you progress, we have the sandworm coming in. And we have the little tokens, and you have a few little tokens that will come in along too.
Yeah. Who is this game for? I think it's for people who love the Dune franchise. I mean, maybe if you're a Risk fan, would you say this is something that would appeal to you?
Lightly tied into Risk. This is nothing like the original Risk.
Yes.
I would say, unless besides world domination kind of thing. You're just trying to take over the map, right? Yes. That's about the only way it's really tied in.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's pretty much its own standalone game.
But if you're a light war gamer, I think this fits.
Totally works.
If you, as I said, if you love Dune, if you love Risk, I think there's enough of a similarity that you could probably make it work. And for
it's pretty quick to pick up too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, you don't need to. It's not a heavy rules overhead. Yeah. So why not give Risk Dune a try today? And in the meantime, get out there,
get gaming,
and be legendary.